Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I am the founder, president, and chief listening officer at our network. Today's show is the Film and Music Show. And of course, as always, we will be joined by the beautiful, inside and out, incredibly talented, dynamo person. I cannot even believe how much this woman has accomplished, and yet she's so humble, and she is always leading with her heart and helping us understand how to check our ego at the door and lead our heart-centric life. Let's take a look before we welcome her.
By your love, what you're giving me is just not enough. I need a love to take me higher and higher and higher. Every step I take, I feel more awake. Getting closer now, I feel so alive. Stopping me, this is how I live. Ever closer now, just follow love. Love will take you there. Just follow love. Follow me. Just follow love. Love will take you there. Just follow love. Follow me. Follow love.
You caught me off camera there.
Welcome, Madeline Chan. Hello.
Oh my gosh.
I just love starting the show off with that. It just puts me in a great mood.
It just lifts you, doesn't it?
It does.
Wow. Yeah.
So, Madeline, any opportunity that you might take that song and get back out there performing with it?
I would love to do that, but there's a few legalities that happened with it. So I'd have to get permission, and to be honest, I'd have to get my name on there as see, I was promised. Sometimes the industry is a bit cutthroat, and basically, and I tell you the truth, they forgot my name. And I'm a songwriter on there. So it was put on compilation albums. It was put into the charts, got to number 7. And I'm going to tell you the truth. And they didn't put my name on there as a songwriter. So what I have to do is balance things out and put things right. And I'm not going to say who the people were, because maybe that's where they were in their energy at that time. They might have changed. And the energy's moved and they've woken to their hearts. Who knows? So, answer to your question, Dr. JACALYN. Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice for it to be up to date with a new sound and everything put into its true alignment, because it is Follow Love.
It is. Thank you for sharing that with me and with our audience. Madeline, you know a lot of people in the entertainment industry, and also you are a songwriter. How often does this happen, what you just described, where the songwriter doesn't get credit? Pretty frequently, right?
Yes. In fact, that's why it can be such a soul-destroying business. for example, many artists that get signed by a massive label like BMG or something, and it's like, wow, I'm so happy, I've got a publishing deal, I've got a record deal. But if they sign you up, but if they can't place you at the time, they may have an idea, but suddenly they might just decide, oh no, you're not going to release material yet. So therefore, your songs are held with them. You cannot release them. They're held with them until they decide to do something with you as an artist. Now, a lot of companies use certain money that should be for tax into certain new acts, which they have no intention of releasing. But by bringing the acts on, signing them up, it's almost, they get lost where to place them, where to market them. So they wait until there's a market, there's a spare, there's a market for them. It's a cold business. It really is. It's and people have to they have to read about the business. You have to become a business manager. You have to, for example, if you've got a baby, you don't give your baby to someone and then just leave them and then just check in every 6 months to see how the baby is. If you're a responsible, caring, loving, nurturing mother and father, you will be with that baby, because your songs is your heart, it's your baby. And so many people put their baby in charge of someone because they have status, they have kudos. And that's where we're going wrong. That's where I went wrong. I didn't learn how to understand about the music industry at all. So I got burned loads of times. Loads.
Wow, Madeline, I'm sorry to hear this. That's painful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's, and then sometimes if your labels fall out with each other, your management and your label, who gets sacrificed? Who gets put on the bonfire?
Right.
The artist does.
Yeah, the artist does.
Yeah, the songwriters. So anyway, I don't want to bring everyone down on a doom and gloom.
No.
It's just about,
it's real though. It's
know
real.
Your business. Know what you're getting into. Understand what the music industry is, and if you're going to release something yourself, really treat it as a business, like what you would do if you're opening your own business as a sole proprietor. That's what you have to do. Anyway,
I'm so glad that you are guiding me through this, as we have written a song together, and your team, your company is producing it. Just waiting for my voice to get to. I did it last night. I was rehearsing as well. Yeah, I recorded it, but I'm like, no, it's not quite there. But what I'd love for you to share, because our guest is backstage, I should say our guest and our dear friend, Jenetta, is backstage. Jenetta's here. Before we bring her out, though, I'd love for you to share with our audiences this new opportunity we have for creating jingles and personalized songs for them.
Right. Oh, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Yes, we are part of a new team called Songs for You. And we're a small team of songwriters, producers, engineers, which will engineer and produce your track and master your track. And we're in direct collaboration now with the beautiful and phenomenal Dr. JACALYN on the platform of USA Global TV. And we will take, if you've got a product and you want to sing about your product, we will work with you and create the music of any style that you wish and help you where you work with your words, and we will bring that out into a jingle, which will be on USA Global TV and radio. Also, we have Songs for You for soul songs, which is about where you have something to celebrate, you have something that you want to say to somebody, that it could be something like a proposal you want to, and you don't have the guts, or you don't have the courage, sorry, not guts, the courage to ask them, say it in a song. Say goodbye to someone in a song. Remember someone in a song. Share your life from, I'm just going to borrow Dr. JACALYN's word from her book, Adversity to Awesome. And we can do that for you. We will work with you. What more do you want? Wow, we can make you a star.
Woo! Yes. So excited for this collaboration, Madeline. And all the information they need about the singograms is over on usaglobaltv.com, and we'll be providing other information for these other platinum packages coming soon. So now our guest today is someone whom I just love working with, love having her as my friend. We've gotten to know each other, and she's doing wonderful things. She has an amazing backstory, but she also has a story from film and music that many people may not be aware of. So let's welcome to the program the founder of the Epiphany Process and World Jenny's Day. It's Jenetta Barry.
Hello, both of you.
Hello.
I have had such challenges. My internet's not working, so I've had to go onto my phone and use it as a hotspot, and then I couldn't get through. So, but I'm here.
You're here. That's all that matters. Yes. Thank you so
The
much.
joys of Africa, I tell you.
You're a bright light there, Jenetta. You're so bright.
It is. I have two bell lights, and I have also the LED lights, and it makes such a difference. And I, fortunately, in this new house we're in, I have my own little studio. It's like, yes.
Yay. That's fabulous.
Fantastic.
I'm not
you have that.
disturbing anybody.
No, exactly. But you're shining from within and out.
I am,
You
as
are.
much as there is a lot of challenge around. I mean, who isn't challenged? I always say it's how one handles it. So when I'm really challenged, I go loud, loud.
She's a comedian also. Who knew?
Yeah, she's a comedian.
Madeline, you may not know this, but Jenetta was up until at least midnight last night, because that's when we finished A Woman's Prerogative. So the show ends at midnight her time. So I'm glad to see you sunny and smiling today, Jenetta.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we went into Naivasha and did a whole load of things that needed to be done, because without getting too intense about things, next week is on Tuesday is when Kenya goes to the polls to either bring in a new party or a new president, and it can be quite tense. So we just decided to make sure that we were stocked up and at home and just laying low for next week. So, and it had to be done today because tomorrow would have been impossible there. Yeah. So here I am with, but I just love the shows and I love being part of them, and you guys and your energy, and it's a community that I have for a long time wanted to either create myself or be a part of. I must say, World Jenny's Day last year community was very, very similar. But this one's a more permanent one. And my heart soars every time I step into that space with all of you, because Dr. JACALYN, you're doing an amazing job. And Madeline, your energy just shines through. Just love you to smithereens.
Thank you, Jenetta.
Thank you, Jenetta, and thank you, Madeline. And just as we talk about the platform for just a moment, I remember one of our team members, and I shared this with Madeline the other day. One of our team members said to me, at the beginning of the year, some people will definitely be on this journey for the long haul, and other people, it'll just be a stopping place. They'll stop by and get something to eat, have some water, and they'll leave, so to speak. And I'm really appreciative that both of you are here and showing up and really making a lot of contributions that are important and really valued.
Yeah, I'm just so glad I am, and what a wonderful way. I love the synergy of timing that we entered each other's space when we did. I just love it when that happens.
I do too. Now, Jenetta, for those who don't know, you co-host a show with me on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 2 p.m. British Summer Time. And that show is all about how we can use our creative energy and that creative space to help with mental health, mental health wellness. And so we do that. You're also an expert presenter in our Talking Heads. That is also on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. British Summer Time. And of course, you're one of our certified elevated listeners. But what many people might not know is that you have a connection to film and music. And I'd love to have you share more about that on our show today.
Oh, that would be very special. I'm busy multitasking because I've had no internet and I couldn't get on here. I'm busy pulling up photos that might be relevant and interesting for what we're talking about. The very first thing is that my whole background has been theatre and music, and my mum was actually an actress and singer and dancer on the West End stage. And that's what I'm busy pulling up now as I talk. And she started from the early age of 16 on those stages. I'm going to bring them up now. On those stages at the age of 16. And she trained ballet with one of the Sadler's Wells prima ballerinas called Phyllis Bedell's. And Phyllis Bedell's trained Mum in ballet in London, and then Mum ended up on the stage. She did a lot of pantomime. She was in the very original Showboat in the West End. And during the war, she had to carry on. She carried on performing with all the sirens and the Blitz and the whole thing in the middle of the West End. And eventually she joined the WAFs and ended up being a top secret radar operator in Cornwall for a while. She had her 21st birthday in the middle of this top secret place in Cornwall. She wasn't allowed to tell anybody where she was stationed or what she was doing. And in fact, a neighboring station, somebody did tell somebody and they got bombed out. So they got blitzed. So Mum had this amazing, varied, fabulous background, really, that was very inspiring for me. And then my dad should never have been able to do anything because they reckoned he wouldn't live over the age of 12. And he was more in the country. He was born in Coventry, Mum London, Dad Coventry. And he was more in the country convalescing as a child than ever at school. And then he reached 12 and survived. In fact, he was the longest living of all the children and died at 96. So when he realized he wasn't going to die and he had very little education, he read the dictionary from one end to the other 3 times. His command of the English language was amazing. And I think because he wasn't qualified to do anything, nothing daunted him. He didn't go around saying, I need a degree or I need a certificate. I'm just going to learn. And he'd roll up his sleeves and do that. And he ended up being a theatre impresario. Mum and he had a theatrical touring company when they left UK after the war and went to South Africa and lived in Cape Town. And some very famous South African actors and actresses came out of Mum and Dad's stable, and Dad trained them. And one ended up being on a very famous radio station, and the other two were very well-known film and theatre actors in South Africa. And then he was an executive director of African Consolidated Theatres for many years, and he used to put on the most amazing pantomimes with magic, which in the 1950s was impossible to do. My mum was Cinderella one year, and she stood there and she was in rags 1 minute and in this beautiful ball gown with a puff of smoke, just like that. And he managed to do that in the 1950s. And then we were sent up here to Kenya when I was a baby in arms, and he was with Alexander Films then. Before then, he'd been with True Tone Records and 20th Century Fox and all that, those different scenarios. And then Alexander Films brought him up here, and independence hit. And being a South African company under apartheid, they left, and Mum and Dad stayed. And Dad bought a recording studio in Nairobi that was existing, a gramophone pressing studio. Can you believe it? That's how long ago it was. And some very, very famous songs have come out of Dad's stable, his label. It was called Equator Records, still is called Equator Records. And in fact, there's a record I made when I was 7. I sang with another girl, and on the reverse side were 2 Kikuyu little girls singing a fable song in Kiswahili. So, I mean, it was an incredible background for me to grow up in. I trained Russian ballet here. That's another story I really want to share once I've got all the photos together. But my Russian ballet mistress was related to the Romanovs and fled Russia at the time of the revolution and ended up here. And we were always in shows, and Dad was a theatre critic, Mum was a theatre critic. Dad did all the sound for many of Madame Zerkowitz's ballets. It was an amazing upbringing. I was so blessed and fortunate. And I don't know if I can get these to show, but let's give it a go. This is Mum in Die Fledermaus, which let's try and share that. Come on, where are you? Share screen. There it is. Here's the first one. That's Mum in Die Fledermaus in the West End. Wow. So she sang and danced in that one, and then
I love the what's called the tutu.
The tutu, yeah.
Yes, I love that. Very beautiful.
And his mum also in Die Fledermaus. Let's go there. I'll get there. Here we go. Yeah, that's Mum also in Die Fledermaus. The same production.
Beautiful.
And she was about 18 there, 19, somewhere around there. She's very, very young. I'm still trying to call up the picture of her in Showboat I've got as well. But this one was taken in South Africa. This one they were singing Dearie, and that man I'm going to show you now that she's dancing with was one of those famous actors, screen actors. He was an absolute heartthrob in South Africa. His name was Joe Stewartson, and Dad put him on the map nationally. He came from UK originally, and Dad went, and in those days to have a bit of an accent was a no-no, so he went and had Joe's accent ironed out.
Jenetta, what was your mom's first name?
Her full name was Winifred, but she was known as Wynne, Wynne.
Oh, pretty.
She's beautiful.
She was a very special lady. We only lost her 4 years ago. This one, I think, Dr. Jacqueline, you've seen before as well. This one is flying ballet, and it was the first time that flying ballet had been done on the West End for a pantomime, and Mum was one of the first to ever fly on stage.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Beautiful pictures. Look at the costumes.
I know, they're absolutely stunning.
Beautiful.
Who did the costumes?
What happened to all those other people?
Sorry, Jenetta, who designed the costumes? Did your mom?
I don't know. You know, they were different productions in different West End theatres, depending on who was putting those productions on. So I actually don't know. I'm not sure at all. And just I'm just trying to quickly, whilst I don't know if you want to ask any other questions whilst I quickly pull up a couple of others.
Would you like to sing for us, Jenetta?
Now you're really putting me on the spot because I haven't sung for years. I think I mentioned to both of you that I ended up leaving Kenya at 16 to go down to Cape Town to, here's another one that's quite interesting to see and so on. And I further trained ballet down there, and also started training, voice training so I was at the University of Cape Town Ballet School and the University of Cape Town Music School, and as a soprano. And it got to a point where they were saying, you've got to decide whether you want to do opera and sing opera or not. And I realized that it was the last thing I ever wanted to do. I was busy singing all this Mozart going, I hate this.
So the arias, singing arias.
Yes.
Like operettas. So
like,
where was your heart then? Sorry,
pardon?
Where was your heart? Meaning that what
my
did you
heart
love
was more in musicals, not only in musicals, but also in creating. That's why, by way of example, doing Insight, the theatrical production on depression and suicide, to be able to create that from scratch, and especially as it was such a painful subject for me to go through, I had to read through all Jenny's notes, and a lot of those letters were directed at me. And you know, when you're 14, 15, your mum's your biggest, worst enemy. And reading through those and going, breathe, Jenetta, and all my notes and things. But ultimately what it brought out, I just love being the creator. Last year's Jenny's Day as well, we really pulled out the stops more than ever. And I love that creative side, putting on unusual theatrical productions, directing them, producing them, if necessary, choreographing them. But whatever, that's where my heart really, really sings. I love it. Let me share some more. I've managed to pull up of Mum. So this is Showboat.
Oh, Showboat.
Oh, on the West End, the very first Showboat.
I love it. I love how people dressed back then.
Yeah, immaculate. Clean shaven.
And of course that was period costume. That wasn't how she dressed, but it was period costume from Showboat from the States, from the cotton picking time. Yeah. So I guess they had to put on an American accent as well to do that. And here's the next one.
Jenetta, the photographs look like they're in really good condition. You've had them preserved, I guess?
Yeah, we have. They're in. Well, Mum actually was very good at preserving these things, more than I was. Here's Mum in Deflator Mouse again. Look at that costume. It's quite
Amazing.
Oh
something.
my, stunning.
It was actually an English version of Deflator Mouse, which is of course an operetta, if I remember correctly. And it was called Gay Rosalinda, and then in brackets, Deflator Mouse. And Mum sang in that. And then
Look
there's
how-
another one, and I think that's probably enough for today.
They're stunning. Your
really are.
mother, she's so like English Rose, so gentle. It's like beautiful,
Yeah.
really gentle,
You know,
romantic.
Even towards the end, well, in the 70s, people confused her with Margaret Thatcher there because she started doing similar hair to Margaret Thatcher. So people would say, "Aren't you Margaret Thatcher?" But towards the end, Mum had this thing. She always dressed to the nines. Always, she looked like royalty, really. Pristine car, pristine house, pristine garden, in her 90s, driving around, zooting here, going to theatre, doing all sorts of things. So she really had a mindset to make sure that she kept it all together, really. She was amazing. And then this is the last one I could find. I'm not sure what show this one was. But it's one of the West End shows. One of them. She had amazing timing and understanding of what should and shouldn't be. And so that's why I was very fortunate, because Mum had that, and Dad's directing skills. I mean, he was a really fierce man and people were quite scared of him. But there was a part of me that really understood my dad. And when my dad told me, even if he was shouting at me, which he was prone to do, I knew he was right. He'd direct me in parts, like when I was in Fiddler in the Roof as one of Tevia's daughters, he would pull me to one side and say, you know, there's a spotlight stage right. Go and stand there in that poignant moment. So I just stand there. Okay, Dad told me to go there. And, it's these sort of production effects. He wasn't the producer or the director, but he used to sit in all my productions and come up with how to do things and say things that much differently. So yeah, this, by the way, I'm going to show you. This is Dad in the studio in Nairobi. If I can get it up. And the thing with Dad was that I haven't mentioned was that he had the studio. He rearranged records and all sorts of things. But he couldn't read music and he couldn't play an instrument because of his upbringing. But I used to sit in that studio and he'd stop the recording and go through and say to the bass guitarist, you need to change that string now. It's out of tune. It's not performing correctly, and or you need to tune it or whatever. He knew exactly what was and what wasn't. An amazingly naturally gifted man. And three songs actually that have become pretty well known. The one was a whole load of workshopped tapes. As he bought the studio, he went through them. They were full of dust. And, in those days, it was reel to reel. And he listened to them all. And he came to one. He said, I'm going to rearrange this and bring in the resident band. And he put a bit of a calypso feeling to it, but what he called his African twist feeling. And published it. And said to my mum, this is going to be a hit, watch it, it's going to go worldwide. And that song is really known as the pop song of Africa, and Africa's a big continent. But even in a taxi, I was in an Uber in the middle of London a few weeks before I came through to Kenya, and this person was from Sri Lanka, and he asked me about Kenya, and I told him about Dad, and he said, Malaika, because the song's called Malaika, which means angel in Swahili. He goes, it's almost our national song in Sri Lanka. So it's been sung by Boney M, by Brothers Four in America, by Harry Belafonte, obviously Miriam Makeba as well. Helmut Lotti in Germany has sung it as well. And it's used by choirs worldwide, all over. And one of my granddaughters is called Malaika because of it. The other one was when independence hit, Dad realized that there are a huge number of different tribes in Kenya. For a little country, there are a lot of tribes, and that can cause a lot of strife as everybody's wanting to be in control. And so one of the cries that President Jomo Kenyatta in those days used for the people to join together was called Harambe, where the workers would go, somebody would go, Harambe, and then the workers would take the pickaxe and go, hey, so that they're all working together on whatever labor they were doing. And Dad wrote a song called Harambe, and it was second, probably still is second to the national anthem here in Kenya. And then the other one was a song called Halule Halule, which Dr. JACALYN, you probably won't know Boney M or the Tremolos, but because they were British, and I don't think they ever got to be in US. But the Tremolos took it in '69 and sang it, and it was on the charts in UK for about 8 weeks. So, you know, from a man that had no education, this is what I had for a background. So blessed. Just love them to bits.
Thank you for sharing them with us, Jenetta. Wow, they're super talented. Amazing. It explains a lot about you.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, can I ask a question, actually, Jenetta? All this that was going on, and you were small, and you were going on tour with your parents. Were the other children there from the other cast, or were you by yourself? How did you deal with it? How did you?
Yeah, fortunately, in the early days when Mum and Dad had their theatrical company, they did touring before my brother and I were born. By the time I arrived, they were going, no, can't do touring. So we had moved to Kenya by then, and all the productions, fortunately, were all put on at the Kenya National Theatre, which is the theatre we put Insight on, and the theatre where I had last performed when I was 16. And now, Madeleine, you know the connotation of 16. And I walked in knowing that something was going to happen in that theatre because of all these synergies all these years later. So they were all put on at the Kenya National Theatre, either semi-professional, Mum and Dad stepped out of professional, semi-professional, or amateur, but so high standard that in the amateur we used to bring the director of the West End show that was currently being performed on the West End through to Kenya, give him or her, but mostly hymns, 3 or 4 month safari, a free safari in payment for putting on the very same theatrical production. So I was so blessed to have all these West End directors directing me when I was in shows. It was amazing. Absolutely. In little darkest Africa, with the jungle.
Do you have any footage of yourself performing that we could see on a future show?
Unfortunately, I did. I don't, but I do have photos which I can show in a future show. In fact, I was just looking at one, wondering whether I should show it or not. I'll just quickly show
Go
it.
ahead.
Yeah, we want to see.
This is Mum. This is Mum and I performing together at the Kenya National Theatre, but this was in our garden. It was taken one Sunday. We were rehearsing, and Mum wanted some photos of the Gypsy Baron, which is an operetta, and I was about 5 or 6 here. There it is. And Mum was in her late 40s there. I'm missing teeth, I think. She was in her late 40s there. And she was doing the most amazing dance routines in that show, where she was jumping up onto a person's shoulder, a guy's shoulder, and going down into fish dives and all sorts of things very, very fast. And I used to have all that footage, and it's all gone. Long story, boring story, but sad one. But yeah, that's the Gypsy Baron, and that was directed by a man called Robert Beaumont, who had been a West End director and was by then living in Kenya.
What a beautiful picture.
It is stunning. And you look lovely, Jenetta.
Yes, you look so happy.
Well, the curly hair.
No, not really. What Mum had this thing that she used to plait it back, and it's actually all plaited back and then hanging loose. I had very long hair down to my waist.
Wow. So is that your hair? I guess that is your hair over your shoulder.
Yes, that's my hair over my shoulders.
Wow. When did you stop wearing your hair long, Jenetta?
When I was 14, I decided I felt frumpy. You know how we go when we're 14. And we are not going to do that. That's how I go when I'm
59. Yeah, I don't know.
So did you?
I still hear my mother saying, if you have it too long, you're mutton dressed up as lamb.
So did you follow the Mary Quant? You know, when everybody had long hair and then suddenly they had this Mary Quant style.
I did.
Really short. Yes,
not quite, but it was about there. And and mum didn't follow her hairstyle, but I always admired my mum because she got very trendy, you know, see-through, you know how we had those see-through type of blouses, and we all went into mini skirts, and my mum was very game to adjust with the times, even to the end, although she dressed very gracefully in the end. She was very on the ball. Even Dad, I mean, Dad had macular degeneration at the end, so he said we all look like Martians because he had this awful, it's hereditary in actual fact. It distorts your vision very, very badly. But, you know, he died in 2008 at 96. And at that stage, he was still configuring printers for his computer. He knew how to configure. Catherine, my youngest, came along with an MP3 player, and they called him GD, which is Granddad GD. She said, GD, look, I've got an MP3 player, and we were all sort of about to say, do you know what it is and what it? And he looks at it and he says, is that like an iPod? And we went, whoa.
Oh,
how can we do that?
He used to surf the net with this enormous magnifying glass and the font this big because his sight was so bad, but he surfed it. And as he was dying, he was asking for football scores for Coventry City. He was an amazing man.
Oh my goodness.
Plus he ate all the, he processed and ate all the dictionary. He divulged all the dictionary.
And he was a very funny man. He had a humorous weekly article in the newspapers here as well. And people used to go specially to the shops to buy the Sunday newspapers because they just felt they had to have a dose of Charles Warren's humor, where he really pulled fun in a very lovable way at anybody that thought that they were bigger than they really needed to be, and in such a way that they'd laugh as well.
Jenetta, this has been so much fun. Thank you for opening your heart and your photo album with us and sharing this other side to you. I just really appreciate it, and I'm sure our audiences do as well.
Well, I just appreciate being here and being able to share it, because I just think my parents' legacy is something special, and some way or another in the future, I want to do something with all of this, even though I've lost the video footage.
That's okay. I think you should definitely do it. Definitely.
And thank you both for this opportunity. It makes my heart soar sharing this with people who mean a lot to me. And so thank you too.
Thank you. We love you.
The waterworks working now. Don't know this.
Jenetta, I'm going to spotlight you, and please, as always, share your contact information and who you would like to reach out to you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Well, I actually assist people who have challenges in life, the challenge of being able to communicate with other people, whether it's family or friends or colleagues or bosses or whoever it is. And often it's that challenge of not being able to express yourself that creates great tension and leaves you feeling compromised and often not good enough. And of course, this came about when I felt like that after losing my 16-year-old daughter, Jenny, to suicide, after she and I argued, because I just didn't know how to communicate with her. So anybody who's finding it challenging to deal with relationships of any kind in any area of your life, please reach out and chat to me. I've been able to help people through terrorist attacks, through to day-to-day challenges of not being able to express themselves. And it would be an honor and privilege to chat with you. And you can get me at theepiphanyprocess.com. And then also on the other side, which we mentioned a bit earlier, Jenny died on World Mental Health Day, coincidentally, although I don't believe in coincidences. And that's the 10th of October. And we now use, wow, can you believe it, theatre and the arts to soften conversations around depression and suicide and their solutions. And that's on the 10th of October, World Jenny's Day. And if you want to know more about that, worldjennysday.com. And just so lovely to be with our listeners and viewers again and to share space again. It's just such an honor and privilege.
Thank you, lovely Jenetta. I appreciate it.
Jenetta.
Thanks for being here. Mwah. Bye for now.
Bye, Jenetta.
Madeline Shand, we have to sign off as the next show is starting momentarily.
Oh,
so, yes, I know, back to back. I'm going to
We
spotlight
need to
you.
extend this, you know.
It's not possible at the moment. Madeline, how would you like people to contact you?
Yes, if you can go on to, and anybody who wants to contact me, it's madeline-chan.com. Or if you want lessons for vocal lessons or bringing out confidence in your voice, it's cotv-edu.com. And if you want to find me on, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. And my Gmail, madelenecarolchan@gmail.com. And yeah, there's LinkedIn, Colors of the Voice, Instagram. And you can also find me because I'm collaborating with Dr. JACALYN on courses to help you face the shadow, face your fears, to have a rewarding life full of freedom, full of love, following your heart. I really urge you all, for those who want to finally get onto the journey of finding who they are, finding their purpose, looking at life from a different perspective with your heart rather than from looking outside reality, just being connected and following your heart, then come and join us. Come and join us. USA Global TV education courses, which is on Thinkific, which is a direct link on there to the courses. And that's myself and Dr. JACALYN. So thank you.
Thank you, Madeleine. And I will put the links into the chat. So Madeleine, Shannon, and I are saying goodbye for now as I run over to the wise ones with Red O'Loughlin and
say hi to Red for me.
I will. I definitely will. All right, my dear friend, I will be speaking with you soon. Love to you.
Love you too. And it's been an absolute pleasure. And with our guest, Jenetta, wow, we have got some amazing, beautiful guests.
Yes, we have.
You know, we're booked. There's one person that booked in December already.
A holiday show. Yay.
Yay.
All right, bye, everyone. Thank you, Jenetta. Thank you, Madeleine.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN.
Thank
Bye.
you.